Welcome back to the Emperor Atheist channel with your host, Emperor Atheist. Back on the black church. I've talked about the black church before, but I don't think I honestly talk about them enough. And why do I say I don't talk about the black church enough? Because the black church is a fucking failure for black people. I always say this because it's the fucking truth. I think you should always speak the truth. But I always say this, it's a particular cliche of mine, that once you go to a black community, any black community in the United States, I don't care if it's from Compton, California, to Decatur, Georgia, all the way up into New York or Maine, wherever there's a black community, Detroit, Chicago, wherever you go, you always see a church on every corner, basically, and a liquor store. It's like those two things go hand in hand. And honestly, the liquor store is definitely a genocidal tool for a black community. And equivalency, the church is too. The church has particularly dubbed down our thinking. It's done nothing to curb murders, assaults, rapes, crime. It's done nothing. You look at the issue in Chicago, where everybody is upset now, so-called upset now, because Trump is saying that he's going to send feds into the city of Chicago because there's so many, so much murder. Those who've been keeping up, everybody knows Chicago has been like, man, maybe Chicago's always been a rough city, always been killing, gangland type city, but I would say in probably the last 5 years, it's really gotten, as far as the murder rate and things have been going on in the inner city of Chicago, has got really out of hand within about the last 5 years, like extremely out of hand. I even did a couple of shows up there a few years back in Chicago, and it was crazy while we was up there. But man, I was ready to go. But everybody's talking about Donald Trump sending the feds in. But one thing I can say about that, at least Donald Trump said something about it. I can't really recall Obama saying anything about it. And that's his home. That's his hometown, basically. That was his grassroots started. But the thing is, man, somebody got to do something. But my question is this. Where is the black church? Where are the black leaders? And when I ask where's the black church, where are the black leaders? Basically what I'm asking, where is their God that they've been praying to? When you're seeing all these young black men dying in the streets. And I'm not just going to pick on the city of Chicago because, black on black crime is an issue. You know what I mean? Yeah, we know we got white on white crime, but I'm talking about black on black crime. As far as when we talking about per capita, it's terrible. So us being one of the most religious peoples in the world, black church everywhere, what has the church done for black people except dubbed us down? It hasn't done anything for us financially. As a matter of fact, financially, it's basically crippled us. When you think about the black church and how long it's been in the black community, you think about, just say your grandmother. Your grandmother goes to this church, and she's probably been going to this church, and I'm just speaking, generalizing. She goes to this particular church, and she gives money to this church every offering, every week, whenever she does. And what the church does, and I'm going to explain you how church economy works. The reason I'm going to explain this to you because I grew up in the church. I'm the son of a pastor, so I was been in it all my life. My grandfather's also a pastor of his own church. He had two churches in Jacksonville, Florida. My daddy had a church in Atlanta and in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm not speaking out the side of my neck. I'm speaking from experience as the son of a pastor and the grandson of a pastor. As a matter of fact, I was going into the school of theology myself. I went and studied theology. And I also hold a degree in sacred theology. So I'm not speaking outside of my neck when I speak about this. But I'm speaking about the game that's being played on our people from the black church. And this is why I don't like the black church. And I'm not saying that all black pastors are evil or out to get our people, because they're not. There are some pastors out there and some preachers, basically of small churches, who are actually concerned about their people. So let me straighten that up right now before I get to retarded comments. But as a whole, you have these big churches, or what we call prosperity churches out here. The majority of these pastors have been through school, studied. They basically don't believe in this stuff themselves. Because when you get to a certain level of actually studying theology, if you get to a certain level, there's basically no way in the hell you can believe in the New Testament or the Bible anymore. And if you do, then you just missed a lot. But it's a financial thing, and it's crippling our people. Not only is it crippling our people with this fake teaching about this God and this Jesus coming back to save them, and you're going to get yours in the afterlife and all this shit, which basically detours our people from actually trying to get theirs here. It gives them a whole nother mindset of like, I'm not worried about this life. I'm going to get mine in the afterlife. And, you know, that's a bad thought within itself. But financially, when you look at the black preacher, and I'm going to go back to the grandmother example. I just said grandmother. She gives her money to this fucking crook preacher every week, right? He takes the money. And he takes the same money that he's getting from not only your grandmother, but all the other members of this church. And he puts it in an account. 9 times out of 10, and I probably be safe for me to say 10 times out of 10, this particular money is going into an account that belongs to a bank that is owned by white corporate America. This bank is not owned by the church. Not only is this bank not owned by the church, but this bank 9 times out of 10 won't even give a loan out to the members of that same church. But what this church would do, what this bank would do, this bank would take this particular money that this church is shooting to it every week, right? And it would give this money out to other people, to other companies, other business owners. What business owners? Business owners, construction, all type of business owners who have nothing to do with the church. But 9 times out of 10, a lot of times in this situation, a lot of the same, you look around the city and you look at within the last 10 to 15 years, you've seen within the inner cities where black people were uprooted and white people were moving back in, or construction have been uprooting black people, or your grandmother who's probably been living in this neighborhood, say 40, 50 years. Well, guess what? The money that she was giving to that crooked pastor was given to that bank. That same bank was taking that church money, this Jesus money, and taking this particular money and giving it to these particular same people who own these construction companies and these contractors. And these are the people that actually getting you rooted out, getting your grandmother kicked out of her neighborhood. This is how the money cycle is working. The money cycle that you keep, that your people, you're giving to these pastors, is not working for you. It's not coming back and to help the communities within the black community. It's not doing it all. So not only is the black church crippling us with false teachings and a false hope when it comes to this Bible, but it's crippling us within the neighborhoods, within our communities. And I'm sure this has probably happened with people like Joel Osteen within the white community too. Even though a big church like Joel Osteen, he has a mixture, a crowd mixture. But don't get me wrong, white folks. Your white pastors, your big time white pastors, they don't give a damn about you either. And they're doing the same thing. They're taking your money, and they're buying nice homes, nice houses, and the banks they're dealing with, 9 times 10 is not dealing with you, but they're dealing with other people. They're dealing with other big companies who don't give a damn about your Jesus or your God. So the church is basically a hindrance, and it's never going to be good until the people start demanding something back. I read one time, I think this was the Federal Reserve. It was not Ben Bernanke, but Alan Greenspan, who was Federal Reserve chief before Ben Bernanke. And he said that and a lot of people gave him flack about mentioning this, but he said that if the churches was to pay taxes, he said this in the early 90s, mid 90s, he said if the churches were to pay taxes by law, he said that the U.S. deficit would not be what it is, if we would even have a deficit at all. But since churches are protected by this country for some particular reason, religious, that they're protected, this 503c, they don't have to pay taxes. But yet, me, hardworking person, or you, hardworking person, you have to pay taxes. But think about this. All of the people who go to a church every week to give your money to this damn preacher, right? He doesn't have to pay taxes, but you do. This is your tax-earned money that you're giving to this damn crooked-ass preacher. But yet, you're not getting a kickback for your offerings. But in your mind, he says that this is what you're supposed to give your 10% to God. Listen, God doesn't exist. What exists is financial security, financial education. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as Jesus. What there is a such thing is reality. And the reality is you have to pay bills. The IRS is taxing you. You're giving your tax money to somebody that doesn't have to be taxed. That is not a good idea. You're being fooled. You're being hoodwinked. And you need to wake up. I've told my mother this. She used to always give money to the church, and she's still a church going lady. But I tell her all the time, your church is crooked, your preacher's crooked. I don't even know him, but I know he's crooked because the church looks too nice. He's doing all these things, but the members are not getting any of the feedback. They're not getting any of the kickback, any of the spoils. So that right there should send a red flag. So this is why I made this video, because the black church, I think, is in the lead of that. And the reason I say the black church, because within the black communities, you see more murder, you see everything going on within the black communities. But yet, where's the black church in all this? Yeah, you may have a few black churches here and there that's trying to do something, but as a whole, it ain't working. Jesus, praying, all of this bullshit is not working. We need to learn about finances. We need to learn how to pool our money like they did back in the 30s. You know, I don't know if y'all familiar with Oklahoma, Greenwood and Pine, you know. Black people up there in Greenwood and Pine in Oklahoma. Matter of fact, this is what the Gap Band named their group after. The GAP and the Gap Band was the Charlie Wilson group. It's basically an acronym for where he grew up at. It's called Greenwood and Pine. Y'all go look this up. But it was called Black Wall Street. This was in the 30s and 40s. And white people was mad because black people was making so much money, and the dollar was circulating within the black community. White people came and killed a lot of blacks over there. And you talking about terrorism? That was terrorism. That was terrorism in its own country that people don't like to speak about. But that was terrorism at its heights. KKK was terrorists. These were terrorist groups way before Al-Qaeda, way before ISIL or ISIS, whatever you want to call these motherfuckers. And it's terrorism now. But right now, the white people don't have to actually do it because it's self-terrorism, because the black church is a terror within themselves. Because it's not helping our people financially. It's actually taking from our people. And it's feeding our people this false idea that you got to give this money because this is what the book of Malachi says. You know, bring all the spoils into the storehouse and all this dumb shit that you don't even know who wrote these books. Once again, learn financial freedom and get away from this bullshit. You know, if you want to believe in God, that's cool. Believe in what the hell you want to believe in. Believe in the spaghetti monster. I don't care what you believe in. But at least learn financial security and save something. Have something for your kids and your grandkids to have when they get old. Don't give all your shit away to some dumbass church who don't give a damn about you. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's just my cue on that. Like I said, the black church is a hindrance and it's a failure for black people. Simple and plain. I'm the Emperor Atheist. Thanks for watching and liking my videos. Peace out.